So I was like 6 years old. Me, my mom, my stepdad, and my two half brothers lived in a house that we were renting in New Jersey. Our area never really had much wildlife around, besides deer. One night, we hear a bunch of howling in our backyard. So my mom tried to figure out what the sound was on her phone. Apparently the sound that she was hearing was a fox in danger. So my mom told me and my brothers not to go outside in the backyard until they could get the fox out of there if it was still there. I didn't listen, and on the next day I went to the backyard, and the fox wasn't a problem. It was dead, with a giant cut from its stomach to its neck. It didn't look like an animal killed it. It was way too surgical. We never found anyone or anything else in the backyard, but man, that really freaked me the fuck out. Thank God we moved out of there the next month. I'm a 12-year-old boy, and one night my mom and me were at home, and my mom wanted to go out with her sister, and I wanted her to go have fun with her sisters. So she went, leaving me home alone. I was watching TV when I heard a voice. I muted the TV and listened. Then I heard what sounded like a drunk man talking to himself, but what he said still haunts me to this day. "Hey kid, I got this candy in my jacket if you come out of the house." I was very terrified, but I also have 3 German Shepherds and 3 Bulldogs who are very protective over me and my mom, so I didn't think he would try to break in. I decided to call my sister's husband, and he raced over in his car, and when he got there, the guy ran into the woods, and my brother-in-law pulled out his gun and fired into the woods. Sadly, he missed a sick fuck, and my brother-in-law called the cops and explained everything. But the cops couldn't find him, and I still live at that home. I'm now armed, just to be safe in case something like this happens again. About 3 months ago, I was babysitting my younger siblings while my parents were out. It was around 8 p.m., and everyone was watching TV while I was in the room folding laundry. Note that this room was located in the back of the house. While I was putting the clothes away, I heard a knock at the window. Without thinking, I opened the blinds a little instantly, and my soul left my body when I was face to face with a pair of wide, hazel eyes staring back at me. I let out an ear-piercing scream and ran into the living room to grab my siblings and take them into my parents' room to hide. While my siblings were confused and asking why I screamed, the back door was practically shaking, as I could also hear someone banging on the living room windows. My sister was already on the phone with the police, and my brothers were hiding under my parents' bed while I was in the hallway with a long kitchen knife trying somehow to protect them. Minutes later, the banging and shaking stopped, and I could hear 2 people jumping out of the front yard gates. The police arrived 5 minutes later and took our statements. After that incident, my parents got a dog from the local shelter named Buddy, who we love very much. 2 weeks later, I was alone in the house with the dog getting ready for school, since school started for me at 10 a.m. because the underclassmen were taking the state exams and the high school seniors like me came to school later. I was feeding Buddy when I hear the front gate shaking, then footsteps walking quickly next to the house. Someone was trying to open the back door. Instantly, Buddy's ears picked up and he began growling and barking like crazy. I was about to call the police when the person fled. Unfortunately, the police never caught the person, so I soon forgot what happened. Then a week ago, someone broke into my dad's car and stole the radio. Yesterday, I was up at 7 a.m. cleaning the living room and decided to have some light in the house by opening the curtains, when sometime later I see a truck slowly approaching my house. I hid behind the bookshelf so that the driver wouldn't see me through the living room windows. The truck windows were very tinted, and I felt like the driver was staring at me, as if he knew where I was in the house. He sped off quickly after that. I honestly don't know what's going on, and I hope it doesn't escalate. It all started and ended the day after I took the last final at this community college. I don't know if he was a stalker or if it was a break-in gone weird. So from the beginning, I was so nervous that I was going to fail this one class and was not going to be able to receive my AA degree. Later in the day, I was out in the pool at my apartment complex with some friends and my roommate when I checked my phone and saw that I passed my class. I got so excited and I told everyone that we were celebrating because I was the last one to have a final. It was 3 days before I got to walk and graduate with this degree that I decided we should have some fun before we all went our separate ways. As it got later in the night, we decided not to go out and to stay in. We invited a couple people over and went on with the night. Around 2 in the morning, people started to leave. The only people left were my 2 roommates, both of the people that they were dating, and one other friend. We were still messing around, and because our apartment was on the first floor, right next to the pool, we went to go night swimming. As soon as we were done, I was ready just to hang out and be in for good that night. My roommates and other friends left to go somewhere else for a while, which was fine. Nothing out of the ordinary for me to be home alone. I got some food and went to my room to hang out until they got back. The way my room was set up in the apartment is that it's all the way back furthest away from the front door and patio door. My room is behind the kitchen and you have to go through the whole apartment to get there. Because our apartment was the front of the complex near the pool, it was near the front gate, and at times the gate was left open because it was broken. I had never had an issue with living this close up front until this night. My room had this one big window, and it's easy to see into my room when I don't have the blinds or curtains shut. I had a closet with mirrored doors, which if you look through the window you could see every part of my room in it. So while I was waiting for my friends to get back, I fell asleep, the last time looking at the clock being around 3:30 in the morning. Also a key part in this, my bedroom light was on when I went to sleep. I woke up around 5:30 a.m. There were slow flashes going off. It was like a strobe light in the corner of my room. I woke up really confused and thought that it was my friends coming back to mess with me. Once my eyes got adjusted, because the room is now dark, I realized the fact that my friends were not messing with me, but there was a single man, at least 6'1", wearing a green Nike hoodie with the hood on in the corner of my room by my closet. He was holding a phone and taking pictures of me. Mind you, I had on teeny shorts with my legs hanging out of the covers. I don't think he realized that I had woken up, and when it really sunk in I said, "What the fuck?" And instead of coming at me or running out of my room, this man just put his phone down and walked out of my room, not saying anything, not in a panic, just walked out. Me being a dumbass, I ran after him saying, "Hey." I tried to follow him out, but once I got out of the front door, I didn't see him anywhere and ran back in to wake up my roommates, asking if they were messing with me. When they said no, I called the police. I looked around my room and saw the only thing missing was my laptop that was on my desk chair in the far corner of the room. The weirdest part about that was the fact that the laptop was in the furthest part of my room with my door closed, and outside in the kitchen on the counter were 3 MacBooks, 2 wallets, and at least $300 worth of speakers. But the only thing missing in the whole apartment was my laptop. Later I found out that the front door and the patio door were never locked when everyone got back, and the police couldn't find this guy, nor my computer. What made this worse was that there was a disk from my camera in the computer with all my personal photos now accessible to this guy. Some things I saw a couple days later while I was getting ready to move out freaked me out even more. Like I said earlier, if you looked in my window you could see my closet mirrors and see just about anything in my room. One thing that was super noticeable was my tapestry. It was very distinct and a different kind of tapestry. It had wolves howling to the moon and it's all black and white. One day when I was packing up my car and it was starting to get dark, I looked up and noticed the apartment above mine through the blinds in the window having the same exact tapestry as the one that was in my room. What creeps me out even more is the fact that I had these little lights I put on that I got from my mom because she knows that my favorite color is purple. In the room above, the lights and the fan were switched out for purple ones. As if I wasn't creeped out enough, an all-black cat came up to the window, and my stomach started to feel weird because a year before, I got this baby kitten that was all black. In the end, this guy was never found, and I never saw his face, which freaks me out to this day, and I hope I never come across him again. I never got my black laptop back, never found my SIM disk to my camera. The best advice I have to anyone is no matter what, always lock your doors. You never know what you could wake up to. To preface this, I live in an apartment block where there's a ground floor apartment and a first floor apartment. Each apartment has its own front door that faces the courtyard area. The apartments are more like large houses that have been split into 2 bedrooms, 1 bath units, with a large opening for the kitchen living room area. I live on the ground floor. The apartments are surrounded on each side by alleyways, and there are large gates which used to have coded padlocks on them, which do not work anymore. I tried to get the property management company out to fix them on multiple occasions with no luck. This means the gates are effectively left open for everyone and anyone to gain access to the front doors from 2 busy streets. Last night at approximately 2:30 a.m., my doorbell rang. I woke up from a deep sleep, and without thinking to check my phone, I quickly wrapped a blanket around myself and went to open the door. I assumed it could have been my sister or a family member who was unable to contact me and arrived due to an emergency. I was wrong. I looked through the frosted glass on the door and could see a light shining through. I opened the door and there's a man standing there whom I have never seen before and knew was not a resident of the block of apartments. He was wearing a headlamp and asked me to open the bin storage for him, which is a shared space only accessible to residents through calling a phone number to unlock it. All the residents have access, so it was even more obvious that he didn't live there. It generally frightened me to have a stranger standing at my door at 2:30 a.m. asking me for access to the bin storage for reasons I didn't find out. I was too scared to actually ask for any information or what he was putting in the bins. I can't see the bin storage from my front door, so I couldn't actually see if he had bags to put out there or what he was disposing of. I was pretty much frozen on the spot, holding the door tightly and not opening it more than a few inches. I blindly accepted his request to open the bins as I couldn't physically bring myself to decline. I told him it was open for him, swiftly locked the door, and pushed my 15 kg kettlebell against it. My mind was absolutely racing and my anxiety hit the roof. I was physically shaking and could barely string a sentence together as I tried to explain to my partner what had just happened when I got back into bed. We got up together to sit in the living room for a cup of tea to try to settle my nerves. We stayed up for about an hour and a half, talking through what happened and trying to explain it or come up with scenarios that made the ordeal make more sense in a positive light, given that all the ideas in my mind were darkly negative. I don't know if he was scoping out the place to break in. He knows there's an adult female living in one of the apartments, presumably alone, as he didn't see anyone else when I opened the door. About an hour after the incident, my partner went outside to check the bin storage. The door had been left open, indicating that someone had in fact been in there. He didn't notice anything suspicious or out of place, and came back inside. We stayed up until the paranoia began to subside and exhaustion took over. I eventually had myself convinced that if it had been 10:30 p.m. or 6:30 a.m., it wouldn't have been nearly as suspect as 2:30 a.m. So I was trying to picture the scenario as though it was a normal time. What won't go away though is the way the man greeted me when I opened the door. Through the gap, the first words I heard were, "Hello, love." It still freaks the fuck out of me hours later,